certification, or if I get this, I do this investment, what's going to be my payback? What's going to be my return, right? And I think that I put these in order. I purposely listed these in order because I think that these are the ways you should look at things. I don't think that you should take a career investment strictly for money. I think you want, like I know a lot of folks have gone back to get MBAs, and after they get their MBA, what they find out is that the job that they come back to is the same job that they left. They don't earn any more money. They're a little bit further behind the folks that didn't leave the company to get their MBA. And they say, wait, I just spent all this money, I didn't get anything for it. Because they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So I think that, when you start thinking about these, I think that money becomes a component. I think that it's an important component. But when you start thinking about these things, all these things, career acceleration, building experience, getting more access, getting better respect. You think about it, right? You think about how companies are making decisions for their security leaders. When they look at it, they're trying to say, we have a candidate that's done the same things in their career as a security professional as we've done in ours as a CFO, chief marketing officer, chief operations officer, versus the person who's made investments that don't align with anybody else in the boardroom. You don't want to be unique that much. You want to be able to assimilate to a certain extent to the people who you'll be ultimately trying to impress. But you have to have that has to be self-driven. You have to want to do something. Don't make investments because somebody else wants you to make them. Do them for yourself.
So that assimilation is exactly what Lee was talking about earlier. In terms of if you want to be in a leadership role in security these days, you need to look more like a CFO than you look like, the people who are speaking here. It's really what it comes down to. Next question. Somebody over here had their hand up earlier.
Before anybody, does anybody have any? We're so on the topic of investments. Anybody have any good questions about anybody planning to make a career investment? Anybody made one recently?
Yeah, we're here.
Well, is that really a career investment, right? Well, okay. So explain to me what the ROI is on this career investment. Yeah. Cool. So you're recouping it knowledge-wise. Do you expect any of the other things to come to fruition? Cool. I think those are good. I think those are very well aligned expectations with the investment that you made. In other words, whatever it costs to come out here, I think that you're definitely getting even or better money based upon what your expectations are.
Let me ask a question here just about this. Just let me ask a question. Show of hands quickly. How many people in the room had your company send you? You're on the company dime. So about 75%.
So here's another one. If your company didn't foot the bill for it, how many of those people would still come? That's great. Great. No. And that's great. To me, the quest for knowledge is really what drives us, right? Doing it for I wouldn't miss a Blackhat. I just wouldn't. I'm not going to pick up the same things as hacking an ATM machine and stuff like that. But just knowing and listening to people, I mean, it's worth it for me. I mean, in my own, just knowing. I mean, but I don't think that. I just think that your investments have to align with the expectation, sir. We'll call him the man in the orange shirt, anonymously.
Depends on how much of a masochist you are
So
to some extent.
So is your friend wearing a black shirt right now? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've gotten a bunch of your friend has gotten a lot of work dumped on them. Okay. Okay.
So I completely agree, and this is something I keep going back to the model we were using this morning because I think it's a really effective model. If you think about it like a company thinks about it, often a company will take less on a deal initially with the promise that they'll make more later, right? You're not going to do that indefinitely. You're not going to lose money on a deal. You're not going to go into bankruptcy to make sure that that happens. But there is always a good reason to have some short-term pain to prove that you can handle the responsibility, and then after some amount of time, expand that deal larger and get more compensation.
So here's like my favorite, right? And the hardest thing for me in owning my own business that I thought was going to be easy was managing people, and it took me I don't think that I'm really great at it now, but I'm getting better at it, right? But I think the interesting thing is that a lot of folks, they believe that if I ask you to take on responsibility, as soon as I ask you to do that, pay me, and then I'll go do it. Now, the way it really works, though, in business is that I give you the opportunity, and that's what they have to look at, is the opportunity to build more skills, take on more responsibility, and show my value. Once I'm able to do that, now I've created two forms of value. I've created internal value, and now your friend has gotten external value too. So even if your friend's current employer doesn't see the value, that person now has more marketplace value. So you tell your friend with 3 kids to look at it as an opportunity and make sure your friend takes his wife out to dinner.
Ultimately, we're not paid on our potential. We're paid on what we've done. Not on what we're going to do, but on what we've done. My company doesn't get paid based on, we think you're going to be good at this pen test. We get paid because we've demonstrated a whole lot of success at doing that kind of thing. Lee doesn't get paid randomly to hire people. He gets paid, that's why they don't hire Lee to do pen tests and me to recruit.
Thank God.
We both have the potential, I'm sure, but because we've demonstrated that we're good at one thing and we have a long history of that, we get paid well for it. And it's one of those situations, if you're not able to demonstrate it yet, they're not going to pay you for it yet. And so you have to take that opportunity as a somewhat variable window to give yourself the time to actually generate the history to say, okay, I have done this, pay me. Not, I could do this someday, pay me.
The biggest thing that I see is guys go back to get their MBAs, and they say, well, I just came back so get me a better job now, because now I have my MBA. I'm like, well, what have you done with it? Exactly. You just got it. I mean, so great, you've passed some tests. Show me how you've made an impact with that new knowledge. Show me how you've applied that new knowledge. Give me some demonstrated results that make you then more marketable.
Exactly. Somebody over here had a question.
Can you give some specific examples of what you think of really effective career investments that you've seen in the past?
You want to take that one? I mean, I think it really depends. Career investments are so personal that it depends on the job. One of the most effective career investments I ever did was I became a certified hypnotherapist.
You're all
Totally
going
random.
to give Mike your money after
Yes.
the talk. By the way.
It's very profitable that way.
Eat more popcorn.
No, and it was an incredibly profitable thing for me because I do a lot of social engineering work. It tied in very directly to what I do. It's also way out there for this industry. I know of 3 other people in the industry who are like that. We talked about being unique.
So,
but it's personal. I wouldn't recommend to any of you in the audience to go do that because that probably wouldn't do you any good.
so let's apply it to you. What do you see as your long-term career goal? Okay.
What
Do you have an intermediate career goal?
So here's the thing. It's really hard to put in context what a good investment is. We had a slide in the deck earlier with a Yogi Berra quote. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up everywhere or something like that. I don't remember what the quote was. But basically, if you don't have a goal, it's really hard to assess the return on investment and whether or not you can get there. Yeah, it's in the planning slides, Lee. It's up earlier.
I'm not a master of PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the thing. If you want to be in management, one of the things that made me a much more effective manager was going and learning about finance. Go take an entry-level college course on accounting.
So if you want to get involved with, say, cloud computing and stuff, so the Cloud Security Alliance, I'd volunteer for a project of some sort. That would be a very low-cost career investment that you will probably get a huge return on if you take it seriously. And you're going to get around some really smart people. I mean, if you're into application security, maybe volunteer for an OWASP type project. I mean, those are like things that you might apply to your desired area. Go ahead.
I think my CISSP, when I got it, was really valuable. I was 4 years into my career, and that was back then, I was like the 11,000th CISSP, so the ranking system was a little shorter back then, so it actually meant a little
Mike
more.
was as high as 962, but then he got knocked out.
Yeah, I had that bad losing streak.
So for me, right? I mean, I've been very fortunate to have exposure to a lot of, whether it's through my recruiting job or through my personal people that I know, some really successful business people who I've done nothing but listen to, have breakfast with. Some have been a little bit closer than others. And people have taken me into the development of their company, the development of their people, their challenges. So I can't say that was a structured, but I took a lot of time away from what I did to make sure that when I had that access, I was able to utilize